Welcome to WO50, Women Over 50 Embody Wisdom and Wellness.
I'm Corrine, and I'm here with my BFF of many years, Eddi. And today our topic, it's actually a two-part episode. This is the first part of Wisdom of the Ages, where Eddi and I discuss our ahas and our insights as we've been 60 years on the planet now.
Wow. Amazing.
It's a long time for wisdom. And
we took some deep dives and we had some uncomfortable moments. Well, I know I did, but dug deep and it helped to share some of the aha moments and
told some good stories,
life lessons, funny stories, good stories.
Yep. Hope you enjoyed getting an insight into our insights. Hello, Eddi.
Hello, Ken. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, this is kind of funny because we've already been talking for an hour already.
Oh, I know.
We just pressed play.
We just forgot to record it. We should have recorded all that.
We should have recorded it.
Yep.
We've been talking about a lot, the AI pie. AI pie. That sounds like that sounds like a sorority AI pie. AI Delta pie.
Beta, Delta. Yeah. GABA.
We don't have those in Canada. We don't have the sororities in Canada. So it's kind of, when people talk about it, I'm like, what is that? But I know it's a brand new AI called Pi from this AI expert guy, and it's awesome. It's way better than ChatGPT. So if anybody's listening, it's Pi, P-I, and it's Pi AI on the App Store or pi.com. And it's more personalized than ChatGPT. It kind of gets to know you. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, I haven't tapped into all that AI stuff much.
You know me. I love electronics and computers.
I know you do.
Technology.
I'm getting comfortable with it. But what's really good is that, it's using information already out there. But it was funny hearing you talk about how it kept asking you questions and getting right personal. And I felt like, inviting them for coffee or something.
Totally.
Like, hey.
That's why I like Pi. ChatGPT doesn't do that.
No, they just give the information. So that's cute. That's awesome.
Yeah. For those of you okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I like AI because there's a lot of wonderful things, and there's, of course, negative things to anything, but to any technology, but the positive things that it can make our life easier. And I use it as like a personal assistant. And so when you Google something, you have to read through stuff to figure something out. Whereas any of the AI chat things, you just ask them a question and they pool all the information together and they tell you the answer from that. Cool. So, okay. Cool. What were you going to say?
I was going to ask you, how was your week?
My week. Okay. So it's Monday today, my weekend. I've been having a lot of fun getting ready for our trip because I'm about to leave for 5 weeks. I'm coming to see you. And it's funny, by the time we publish this episode, we'll probably be back. I think we're about 4 weeks ahead. So we'll either be in Italy or just getting back from Italy by the time. So Eddi and I are doing our 60th year in Sicily for 2 weeks. But first, I'm flying to Newfoundland next week, which I'm so excited about.
Yes, we have a retreat up here. We have a music event. We have my birthday to celebrate, and then we're off to Italy. We have to go over there to record a podcast, it seems.
Yeah, our plan, I mean, we didn't do because we spent March together, a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks in March together this year. And we also spent 2 or 3 weeks in June together, and we didn't record one episode.
We didn't. I know. So let's see how it goes.
So we'll try to do one in Newfoundland, and then 1 or 2 in, maybe one in Paris. We'll see.
Yeah, let's see.
Traveling along the way. So, we're celebrating 60 years on the planet. I turned 60 in April, and you turned 60 October.
Mm-hmm.
And we've gathered a lot of wisdom and made some mistakes and had a lot of heartache and had a lot of joy. And so this episode title is called Wisdom of the Ages. And we decided we're sort of going to interview each other or discuss with each other our life lessons that we've learned. I mean, we could probably talk endlessly about what we've learned, but we kind of narrowed it down and sort of in point forms to talk about, because some of our lessons, I personally love talking to people. My old podcast with Sean was turning points about people's spiritual, turning points. And I love talking to people about their journeys and what they've been through and what they've learned, how they've learned from different experiences. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, me too. Me too.
So you want to start?
So, why don't we begin with you? What has been your
Chicken.
biggest or one of your aha moments or life lessons?
So I've been working on my memoir for many years. So, well, for a couple of years now. And so, they say not to do it chronologically, but what's coming to my mind anyway, to share one of my first lessons when I was, I don't know, 15 or 16, when I was having my heart broken or disappointed for the umpteenth time already at 15 or 16. And I wrote this poem kind of saying, the gist of it was, you can only count on yourself, that your friends will come and go, lovers will come and go, even though I didn't have a lover at that time, but people come and go out of your lives and people disappoint you, but you can always count on yourself. And so that was probably my first biggest life lesson. And it's not like in a sad way that people disappoint you. It's just to me, it was an empowering, and I wrote it in a poem, and it was probably, I started writing poetry before that, but it was just an empowering message for myself to know that I always had me to count on. Yeah.
That's good. I've had one of those moments as well, but mine, well, one life lesson, but you don't realize it, was when I was 5, we had a house fire. So we lost everything. So okay, you're just sad, you're disappointed, there's struggles. And then in my mid 20s, right after I'd moved to Nashville, I had some furniture and my life collections, everything from teens and awards and all kinds of things in storage. And while I was in Nashville, my apartment unit and the storage area burned,
In
and I lost
Vancouver.
in Vancouver, and I lost everything again. And I
Mm.
realize now, moving forward, like even as a young, like teenager, I never got attached to like stuff. So, and then, going into my 30s, it was the same thing. You just get something, and I had no problem giving something away. I never had, definitely not a hoarder or, I really didn't have any problem, or I don't even know what the word is for it. I just no stickiness around stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I
But you
didn't have.
enjoy your stuff.
I do. I totally enjoy it. But if somebody said to me, I love that, could I have that? Yeah, you can have that. Sure,
We both do that.
we do. Or if I
Yeah.
lost something, or, oh, I love that. I've had that forever. Oh, I can't believe I lost it. I have none of those stories playing around in the background of my
Mm-hmm.
mind. And I truly feel, even though it was a struggle, and I can only imagine how much it was for my mom and dad, but moving forward in life, maybe that was something, that really set me up to kind of not have that attachment with materialism, or
Mm-hmm.
that I had to make this amount of money in order to get this and this and this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, I just had a kind of a disassociation with
Mm-hmm.
some of it. Does it make
Mm-hmm.
sense? Does that
Yep.
make sense?
Yep. No,
Huh.
it's awesome. It's awesome. I have one or two other friends that have been through fires, and it's actually a technique that I used to use, which I don't want to make light of your experience, because that's certainly you know, incredibly difficult to go through something like that. But I used to, when I was moving to San Diego from Nashville, a big move across the country, and I'd been living in Nashville for quite so many years, and I would pretend, like when I was trying to think of what I was going to take and not
Mm-hmm.
take,
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
used to pretend that, what if I had a fire? I wouldn't have a choice of what I could take. And
Yeah.
it really helped me to change my perspective about what. And so I had a Goodwill pile, I had a garbage pile, I had a giveaway pile, and I had a few for sale, some of my
Yeah.
antiques that I had collected. You remember that when I was leaving Sylvan
Yes.
Park area? And I had like 3 months to move. So it was really great to kind of just go through everything.
Hmm.
We always collect more stuff. It's kind of like
We
emotionally.
do. Well, we do. And we hold on to things, we hold on to pictures and little things that are have a lot of memorabilia attachment to it, like rocks or stones or gifts that people give you. And, you know, as you get older too, you have some of these things that sit around and they bring memories back in, right? You go, oh, I remember that trip, or it's like that time in India, I remember, and I was like, oh, Corinne, I know I'm the rock collector. I love rocks. And I was like, oh, we're going up the Holy Mountain, one of the oldest mountains in India. Maybe I can take back a little rock. She's like, you cannot take any rocks, Eddie. You cannot take the holy rocks off the mountain. Like,
So,
that's a nope.
because if
I was
everybody
like,
did it, there'd be no holy mountain left.
that's right. So I went, oh, okay. There's so many, not even one little tiny one. Like, gee, I
I
live in
think I have a
Newfoundland on
little
a
tiny one.
rock. Anyway, so everybody takes rocks. There's beach rocks. So we're walking down the mountain, and one of the Suddas, wasn't it? One of the holy men,
Sadhus.
sadhus, was coming down and uh, passes me, and then turns around, looks at me, and puts out his hand and hands me this rock that was shaped like Arunachala, the holy mountain.
Yeah.
Yep, in Tiruvannamalai. And I took it and I was like, oh my God, Corinne is going to freak out.
If the sadhu gave it to you, it's perfectly fine.
That's right. That's what you said to me. I was like, I did not take this, Corinne. He gave it to me. She's like, you're like, I know they do that sometimes. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, great. So I still have that one. And it does mean a
Mhm.
lot, which is great. But if the mountain calls it and wants it back, I'll bring it back. I really will. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Okay.
awesome.
Another one. Give me
Another
another
one.
life moment.
Um, gosh, I mean, my biggest, I remember I was at a silent retreat one time with one of my teachers, Adi Ashanti, and this young woman, we had just done 8 days of silence. And there was about 300, 400 people there. And this young girl, like 19 years old, stood up, was the very last morning. We were asking questions and sharing and stuff. And she said to Adia, is there any advice you can give me? I've never meditated before and I didn't know who you were. And I just wanted to go on retreat. And it was quite an interesting experience. And I was like, holy crap, that's a lot in a week to do, not with no preparation. And can you give me advice? And he said, and I was like, what the heck's he going to come up with? Because usually he talks about, non-duality and spiritual and awareness and stuff. And she said, I want to find my life purpose. And he said, think about what's been the most important thing in your life. Could be the death of somebody or a breakup or something good. It can be like some kind of celebration. Think about the most important thing in your life. And right away came to me, bar none, the most important thing in my life that I've experienced was when I did 30 days of silence when I was 26, 27 years old. That's always trumps everything. And he said, think about your feeling that you have, and that's kind of your purpose. And I was like, yeah, that's set up my whole life. Like what I found on 30 days of silence when I was in my 20s was that all of the answers are within. And not only that are they within, but all of the answers come from the silence. And that nothing I could ever do or be or accomplish could ever fulfill me as much as that 30 days of silence, because I was so full, so completely expanded and full and that never left me. It may have been overshadowed at some times in my life, but it's never ever left me. Like I owned that peace and that connection. And that has run my entire life whenever that's been in the background informing my entire life. So that was probably my biggest one.
Ah, that's beautiful.
That's why I
Um,
was such a adamant for you to learn meditation.
I know. I know. I now believe the answer is in the silence.
Only took me 30 years.
Yes. Only longer.
Yeah.
Takes time. Takes time. That's why
We
as
get it when we get it.
we get it when we get it, which is why as we get older, it's so beautiful that when we have these, they don't have to be huge Oprah Winfrey aha moments,
Or
they
30-day
can
silent aha moments. No.
no, they can be a small retreat, they can be a walk along the beach, they can be I remember I was telling you I was performing music and it was at an event in a place where I didn't want to be doing this kind of music anymore, just playing to and the people are listening and it wasn't a bar scene, it was a small
Pub.
venue.
Like a pub.
Yeah, kind of like a pub, but it wasn't like chitty chatty. People were really a really good listening audience, but it was a performance and people are watching and in I don't know, moments, 20 minutes had gone by and all of a sudden, and everybody's enjoying it and it's wonderful, but the performer fell away. It was like, I enjoy more the smaller venue and the more intimate and telling a story and that singer songwriter thing. It's not you know, the
Performer.
showman. Yeah,
Yeah.
the performer. It fell away and I can't even explain it. It's just like a cloak falling off your back. And it's not that
Nice.
I then, worked really hard to finish the night. It was just like a really huge weight was lifted off me that I don't have to do that anymore. That people pleasing or, oh, well, I got to sing that song because they like that, but that I don't like singing that one anymore. That doesn't give me joy. I don't feel anything. I felt the moment where the music that I want to perform or want to do has to come from deeper,
Yeah.
and yeah, that you don't have to be that certain person or that that person you conditioned yourself to be or
Mm-hmm.
were conditioned or whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
that falls away.
Mm-hmm.
It's just yeah, it was a aha moment in a little tiny venue, it wasn't Carnegie Hall.
And it wasn't that anything specific happened externally. It was an internal experience and an
It was
internal
in
aha.
it was internal because everybody
Mm-hmm.
was enjoying it. Everyone came up afterward going, "Oh my God, that was so good. You guys sound beautiful together." And wow, you should be doing this all the time. And I'm just giggling inside at this point now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going, "Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that." There was a different appreciation,
Yeah, I remember when that happened to you, and I
Yeah.
felt a different vibe around you about music and performing around that time. I saw a huge shift.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
I
we
got
never
it.
know when that's going to happen. So, you
No,
know,
it's grace. I feel like the ahas are fully grace.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes. It's grace.
yeah,
Definitely. When you wonder what that feeling is, what is that? It's you have to experience it.
yeah. Yeah, I had right around that time of moving to San Diego, I used to actually have a little tiny book that I called my book of ahas.
Mm,
And I you can't conjure it up. Like I knew that they would just happen. I would just have an insight on any given day for whatever. It just comes out of seemingly nowhere, right?
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of my ahas when I was packing and getting rid of stuff was that we collect stuff kind of like emotional baggage. And so every once in a while we need to clean out our physical stuff. Doesn't mean you have to give away all of your pictures, but there definitely is a lot of stuff I guarantee people every person listening to this can do some cleansing, get rid of another bag in your closet or your attic or whatever.
That's right.
And then I realized we also collect emotional baggage as well, whether it's regrets or judgments or grievances from of different people or from our parents or whatever it is that we have grievances for. And then when we clean out our emotional basement, then, and there'll always be more. There'll always be more
Yep.
stuff, and there'll always be more emotions
Yep.
to accumulate.
It's like a different mindset, it's to the attachments, all the attachments we have, the stories, what we have and what it reflects and what it means and why we're holding on to it. It's like I was going through boxes of stuff that I had belonged to my daughter, and I'm holding on to kindergarten stuff and then pictures and her first whatever doll outfit. And I'm going, okay, I need to condense this. And then I went, do you want any of this? She goes, no. What do I want with all that? What am I going to do with all that? It's like, oh, it's our own story with it.
Totally your own story with it. And if you've ever had a parent die or somebody die and had to go through their stuff, you realize, when my dad passed away, my sister and I went through his apartment. He didn't have much. Like he knew he was going to die, and so he was a very minimalist anyway. So
Mhm.
so, but there still was plenty to go through, and it's like my sister kept a few of his sweaters, and she wears them in the winter sometimes.
Mm.
I kept his passport that I found. He had a brand new passport in his car. I kept that. I think that. Oh, and then his ring that he always wore.
Mm.
But it sits in my desk. It's a
Mm.
gold ring with like 5 diamonds in it. I have no idea what to do with it. It's sitting there.
Yeah.
Keep thinking I'd like to do something with it.
Yeah.
And then my brother kept, there was a couple of paintings, and that was it. And everything else went to Goodwill or the garbage. And I was like, the stuff that we hold on to that we means so much when we die, it's like, it doesn't mean we attach the meaning to everything, all
Yes.
of our stuff and our relationships. We're the ones that attach the meanings to everything.
Yes. 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 Yeah, and you don't ever know what that meaning is for anyone else. It's like when you just said that about your dad. Well, when I was there with my dad when he was dying, we were all there, the whole family. And so I go with mom to clean out the closet. And I was home visiting at the time. I came back from Nashville and stayed with him. And, because I was an oncology nurse, I kind of know the process, right? So I said, I'll hang back for a little while longer, and we're going through dad's stuff, and mom's sitting there, and he was a minimalist as well. And she pulls out his wallet, and there's five of us kids, and he wasn't a religious man. Mom would go to church, but dad was like, I need, he was a good man. He was good to people. And mom pulls out his wallet, and there's five little medals, like Catholic, those little holy medals in his wallet. And you could tell by the shine on each of them who it belonged to. Of course, the one with all the rust on it was my older brothers, and the real shiny new one was my little brothers. And then I'm going, wow, he put a little medal in there, mom said, in his wallet when each of us were born. And he
Wow.
carried that around. I was like, wow. He could never tell us he loved us over the years, but all right, okay, this is how it's done. I thought that was so beautiful, so moving and touching. It spoke volumes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So
great.
yeah, you never know. You never know these things. So sometimes, when someone is dying or has died and we go through their personal things, whew, you find out a lot. Boy, do I have
Oh, well,
stories from other
that's,
people
yeah. Yeah. No,
that's
no,
been
no. I mean, I
shared.
just
It's
went
like,
through.
whoa.
Yeah, no, I just went. I think about it every when I'm going through my closet. I'm like, if anything happens to me, I don't want anybody to go through this stuff. Like, not that I don't want, I don't mind people going through it. I just mean
Yeah.
for them to have the burden to have to, give it away. That's what my sister is constantly telling her husband. He is he collects. So you can imagine what he has stuff packed everywhere hidden because he knows my sister wouldn't approve. So she approves of a couple of paintings, but he
Yeah.
wanted like all 150 collection of both his parents when they died, of all their paintings that don't mean anything to her or him really, other than his parents owned it. But he has his dad's old sneakers, like 20 pairs of shoes and sneakers that aren't his size. that are in a plastic bag in the basement that he will not get rid of. So that's the
Oh,
other side of it.
yes.
And
Yep.
he just hangs on to this stuff. There's been so many stories, and my sister's the exact opposite. And
Yep.
she says to him, "It doesn't mean anything to our kids when we go. I don't want
You
them to
got to
have
dig
to
it.
go through all of it." But she's, she deals with it really well, and so
Yeah.
does he. He knows what, she'll find stuff that he's hidden that he knows she wouldn't approve of, and it's very
Mhm.
funny, and everybody has little quirks that way, or but I think one of my superpowers is letting go. I'm, certainly have things to work on that I still work on in my life, but one of my things is I'm very good at letting go, whether it was from a heartbreak. I would get over my heartbreak even though I would feel it intensely, and that's what got me into spirituality in the first place, was
Mhm.
looking for some lasting happiness, because I was looking for happiness in music and in men, and that was not lasting because that was so brief. And
Mhm.
so that got me into like meditation, and all this stuff was looking for lasting happiness.
Yeah. I agree with you. The letting go of regret, resentments, right? Anything we hold on to, old past history, like it's just hurting ourselves moving forward. The letting go is I think as we get older, it's that the big piece we have an easier time with.
Well, not everybody.
No.
No,
Well, true.
my
Me,
dad,
you,
what's that? Yeah,
me
you and
and you.
me.
Yeah.
But my dad was still we kind of joked about this. Is my dad was still telling people at 80 years old, he died at 86, but at 80 years old, when he'd go in the hot tub in Palm Springs and he'd meet people for the first time, he was still telling people that his parents gave him away to that they sent him and his sisters away to a nunnery, what's a convent, and
Okay.
because it was in the depression and they couldn't afford to keep the kids, and he got separated. He was little, he was like 3 or 4. He got separated from his 3 older sisters, and he was, through the fence, they were
Mm.
crying and stuff, but he was still hanging on to that when he was 80.
Yeah, that's tough. Imagine if I was doing that, like saying to my mom, all I can do when I think back of the fire when we were all so young was I felt so much for them. I kept thinking, wow, they must have really what they did to juggle with all of us, to go to different aunts and uncles. And that's the beautiful thing about community is that people took you in and fed you and you just kind of accepted it. It wasn't like nobody made a big deal about, oh, yeah, poor little thing. Look, you got no shoes, you got no clothes. Well, before you knew it, we were outfitted, we were fed and we had a warm bed to sleep in and all the basic needs were met. And I never held on to that. I know my parents, they did the best they could
Yeah.
with what they had and what they were trying to do. And if I want to change that story and go, you know, they could have done better. Who's the one suffering then?
Yeah.
It'd be me.
Yeah. But it was layers that didn't happen overnight. Like,
No, no, no. This happens with aging. This happens with getting older and the more aha moments you have and the letting go of things. Yeah, we have something playing all the time.
yeah,
Yeah.
those are layers to our stories. And so there's the layers of letting go.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
sometimes we have big ahas in a moment and there's an insight, but more often it's like this erosion process that happens to us, that we either just get too tired, or it just doesn't seem as important.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize you can let it go in a moment, and it doesn't have to be this erosion and just get tired of the story. You can just let it go in a moment. I remember a story that Oprah shared, that she had been kind of irritated with this person and held a grudge for a long time, and she was coming out of her studio door, and the person she saw, that person getting in the car who she'd been trying to avoid. That person didn't see her, and they got in the car and drove away, and she just realized in that moment that that person's lived for 5 or 6 years and not had a clue that it was a burden for Oprah herself, and that she was thinking about it, and Oprah was the one carrying the burden, and she just was able in that moment to let it go.
Isn't that great? That's wonderful. I had a gal came up to me in this was years ago was way after high school, and she was kind of a bully, a little bit of a bully to me in junior high. And I'm playing some music and I'm doing some wellness stuff, and she comes up to me and she goes, "Eddie, I'm really sorry I was so mean to you in school." I was like, "Oh, okay, thanks. I haven't really thought about it till now." And she goes, "I really was, wasn't I?" I said, "Well, now that I think about it, you were, but it's okay. You're not that way anymore now."
So you didn't remember it from school? Because I remember the people that bullied me.
Oh, I
I
remembered
don't
it,
have a
but I
grudge.
yeah, but I never saw that person again. So I never thought about it. I just would say, "Oh, I only had a little bit." When I hear people talk about being bullied, I would just go, "Oh yeah, I had a gal. She was a little bit of a bully to me and my other friend, but um it didn't go on very long." So that was it until that moment when she apologized, and I went, "Geez, I hadn't even thought about it." But now that when it was brought up and when people talk about bullying, I have a different feeling with it because I go, well, the gal that bullied me apologized. So that's really cool.
You don't realize, like, to be on the other end of it. I don't know if you, because I had this happen recently, actually. So I had this music partner. We weren't romantic partners, but we were music partners, and for like a good 3 years we were music. He was a keyboard player, and we were in two or three different bands together, and we wrote music together. We did TV shows together. We were, really tight for 3 years, the important part of our lives, for at least 3 years. It might have even been three and a half. And I was probably, we went into a band competition. We went from being a duo to a trio, and we were like the number one duo in Canada. We actually won a competition, the number one duo in Canada. That's only because you weren't in it, Eddie, because you probably would have won. But
We would have won.
but and then we got to record. I recorded with Brian McLeod when we won. Remember, from the
Oh,
band
yeah.
Chilliwack?
Yeah, I
and
remember.
Headpins. He started that band too, and then that was my first time in the studio, was with Brian McLeod.
Mm.
And so we had all kinds of amazing things we did together. It was Mark Poi, and
And Bill Henderson, wasn't he
yeah,
was in
one of the Hendersons, he was
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Chilliwack
because
as
I met
well.
him when I lived in Vancouver.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Cool.
And so Mark and I started a band together, and then we were in a band competition in Vancouver, and we got like thrown out after round one or something. And I called one of the record executives, to get feedback on the band.
Hmm.
And he took my call. This was before I moved to Nashville and had connections. The guy took my call. He goes, "Yeah, I remember your band." He said, "You guys are not current at all. You have absolutely no hope. You've got a little talent, but really, you're not that great of a singer. Your songs aren't good. And yeah, I would do something else."
Well,
And I called Mark and told him, and he said, "Don't listen to that guy. That's only one person's opinion. And I said, "I don't know, Mark. I just feel like it's useless going any further now. I think I want to move to Nashville." He said, "Nashville?" I'm like, "I don't know. I read a book on Nashville, and I think I want to move there. I think it might, because I'd see all these Canadian bands that were really big in Canada, and they wouldn't be known anywhere else.
hmm.
And I was like, I want to go to the US and try to make it there." And really, honestly, country music, I was like, that's got to be easier. I didn't know country music. I was a pop singer. It's so
Oh,
hilarious.
that's
So I just,
funny.
the point I'm making is how unconscious. So here's this guy who I've known, and we've been friends for 3 years. And I literally break up our band over the phone. And I tell you, I have felt bad about that. That's probably
Wow.
one of my biggest regrets in my whole life. And I sent him a
Mm.
message 6 months ago. We've been friends on Facebook. So funny we are. These stories we weave.
Yeah.
We've been friends on Facebook for a while, and I sent him a message finally about 6 months ago, and I said, "Listen, this has been on my mind, and I am so sorry. And I know you probably don't even remember, but this is, And he said, "Oh my gosh, Corinne, it's not a problem at all. My life's been great, and looks like you're
That's
doing great too, and it's all good." And I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Oh my God, that is too funny, Corinne, because we are like total soul sisters. We're like living like this mirrored life because when I made the decision to move from Vancouver to Nashville, I had a beautiful band. We were really doing well. We were touring. We had put some records out, and I just again had that moment of I think I need to go to Nashville to write and perform and just see what I got in me. I think I can do it. And I say to the guys, yeah, I'm going to move to Nashville and I'm taking a break from medicine and I'm just, I'm not going to do nursing and I'm just going to go. And they were like, "Are you kidding me?" Well, the drummer I recently reconnected with, okay, and he has been with Trooper, which have been
Big
a
Canadian
huge
band.
Canadian band, right? They just got inducted into the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. And every time we talk, I'm like, well, now, Clay, you kind of did pretty good for yourself there. It's maybe a good thing I did move. Because Trooper opened up all these doors for him and he got to tour. And, it's like, it's interesting, isn't it? The decisions we
The
make.
decisions you make, and so something
Yeah.
that I thought, I wasn't a bully, but I felt like it was insensitive and unconscious decision when I was young, because I like to think now that I'm, try to be transparent. But even now, there are people who don't like me. When I tell people will say to me, "Oh, Corinne, nobody must not like you." And I'm like, "Oh, there's at least 3 people I can think of off the top of my head that really think they just not only don't like me, but they think I'm a terrible person because of some interaction that we had, that they have their opinion about how it went down and I have mine." And
But does that ruin your day?
no,
Does
that
that
definitely,
stop
I don't
everything?
take it
Yeah.
personal at all. Like,
Because
especially
I
now, because
think
I
it's,
know.
yeah. And I think it's a really big lesson we've learned in our lives not to take things personal,
Yeah.
especially when, honestly, I really want to do my best in life. I want to treat everyone the way I would expect to be treated back, or not. I shouldn't word it that way.
No, no,
That's
no, I'm not
wrong.
laughing at that. I'm just laughing at, even when you do your best and you think you're kind, there's still some people that think you're an asshole.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you cut them off in traffic or you yell
Or
at them.
friends that take things that have stories in their head.
It's true. It's true. I'm sure there's probably family members or that are still holding on to old story. I don't know. Who knows? But the point is we let it go. It's not who we are. We're not taking up time, using up today, thinking about yesterday. What a
Yeah.
waste of time.
Yeah.
Our precious time right now moving forward on this planet, as this is what this is. Over 50, we're moving to into the 60s. Time is precious,
Yeah.
not to be taken up with what? Trying to think the thought for somebody else? Like I remember I would do that so much. Go, oh my gosh, look at the way they're looking at me. Oh God, they must hate me. They don't like the song I'm singing. Oh, and that's not what's going on. I got this narration going on in my head.
Of what people are thinking because of the way they
Yes.
look.
Yes. Or what I think they're looking at. And oh my God, I shouldn't have wore this dress. I should have put on, we have that stopped. I don't
Yeah.
know exactly when that stopped,
Yeah.
but and it gets further and further away the older I get because time and the awareness now
Yeah.
with everything is present.
Yeah.
The awareness.
I always say awareness trumps all of it.
What are we going to do? We got to go on and do more.
We could talk forever about this topic, so we're going to break this episode up into 2, and we're going to wind down this episode, and the next episode will be us still talking about our ahas, the wisdom of the ages. So another deep dive, Ed. I love ya.
Love you.
Talk to you next week.